Good morning, everyone. Welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep. My name is Alpa Sharma, and this is our daily editorial analysis. Good morning, Ragini and Shivam. Can you hear and see me clearly in the app? Good morning, Sham, Yashasvi, Arshita, Devesh, Avi. Can you hear and see me very clearly on YouTube as well? Very good morning. Good morning, Mahita, Moviz. Morning, Vanshali. Namaskar, Shivam. Can you hear and see me clearly? Yes, clearly visible and audible. Both the platforms. Okay. So, uh, 4th of February, last Hindu editorial for the week. Yes. And I am going to take both the articles today from the Hindu. One is out of the text and context, and the other is out of the editorial page. So, we'll be discussing both of them. The second article I had bought yesterday, but since we did not have time, we did not discuss it. Okay? So, that is why we're going to discuss it today in the editorial class. But before I take you ahead, there are a few things I would like to tell you. We've got flat 20% off on all our online classroom programs plus mock tests. So if you would wish to enroll yourself for any of the low entrance examinations, this spring offer is the best for you. So you could enroll yourself using the discount code SPRING20 and avail a 20% off on all our online programs. And as I had told you yesterday, we have our mega marathon happening on Sunday. We are going to be solving questions from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. consecutively without break. Lots of questions, lots of answers, lots of discussions. So 2 hours for English, 2 hours for legal reasoning, and 2 hours for GK and current affairs. Now that's what we're going to do in this session. My start English 10 a.m. So make sure you come here because there are going to be lots of people and there's going to be lots of practice. I'm sure you would want to see where do you stand amongst everyone else. So make sure you don't miss out on this. And if you're targeting CLAT 2023, we've got a comprehensive preparation course that we have launched for you. I'll be teaching in this batch as well. So agar aapko crash course, Priyanshu, yes, let me tell you about the crash course as well. So if you are targeting 23, this batch is for you. Look no further. Yes, so here it is. Our crash course starts from today. So if you wish to enroll yourself for CLAT 22's program, then this crash course is the ideal one for you because we still have 3 months to go and you can still prepare. Okay, so don't be late. Please do that right away if you are targeting CLAT 2022. If you are targeting JMI, ALET, SLAT, BLAT, and MHCT, because their pattern is a little different from CLAT's pattern, we've got a separate batch for that. This is batch 2. So इसके लिए भी आप enroll कर सकते हो अगर ये लॉ एंट्रेंस एग्जामिनेशन आपका टारगेट है apart from CLAT. और अगर आपको सारे सब्जेक्ट नहीं पढ़ने हैं, आपको सिर्फ लीगल अफेयर्स एंड करंट इवेंट्स पढ़ने हैं, then batch 2 for that because batch 1 is already full and batch 2 has just started. Come over on board, enroll yourself at the earliest right now because we've got 20% off. Yes, utilize that and enroll yourself for this program right away. Now, okay, so morning everyone who's just now joined me. Okay, all right, Shivam, why are you scared? Oh, what happened, Ali? I hope everything's good. We're going to take a quote of the day. We'll revise 3 questions from yesterday's class. Vocabulary. We had tons of vocabulary today. And then we're going to do 2 articles, a detailed discussion on them. We'll take out the vocabulary from these 2 articles, memorize that. In the end, we're going to be discussing the tone of the author. And we'll see the newspaper that has come today, the Hindu and Indian Express. And we'll see what needs to be done from today's newspapers, what's important and what can be left. You could comment under my video with the summary of each article, which I'm going to check. If there's anything that you would want to communicate to me, you could again comment under my video in the comment section. I'll be checking all of that. All right. So what's the quote of the day? Quickly, everyone. Priyanshu, please speak to the counselors. They'll help you. Okay. Shreya, for some reason. Okay. Now, what's the quote of the day, everyone? What is my source of happiness? This is is my passion. This is my source of happiness every morning, getting up, looking at all of you, waiting for me, waiting to learn, so eager to get into the NLU. That boosts me. This is my source of happiness. I cannot live without it. So sometimes it's monotonous, but that's what makes me happy. Ali, nobody asked me this thing ever. All your dreams can come true if you have the courage to pursue them. Yes. And I read a quote. In fact, I should share that with you. That you did not come this far only to come this far. No, you meant to be going ahead. Otherwise, you would not have come this far. Remember. तो इतना आगे आ गए हो, अभी गिव अप करना है? नहीं करना है ना? बहुत आगे जाना है. NLU में जाना है, NLS में जाना है, बेस्ट कॉलेजेस में बेस्ट प्रोफेसर्स से पढ़ना है. You did not come this far only to come this far. Remember that. Yes? Okay, so that's what our code today is. Let us now continue with our revision from yesterday's class. Establish so firmly that change is very difficult or unlikely. Is it culmination, invigorating, entrench, or outlay? What is that? What is our answer here? I hope you're better now, Abhinay. What's our answer? It's C, it's entrench. Yes, that is entrench. Correct. This is entrench. Next word. To bind, wrap, or swaddle with, or as if with a bandage. Moorings, plethora, swath, or exempt. What is it? What's our answer? Yes. This as well is swath. It as well is C. Yes. It is C as well. Yes, struggling with Shivam, you're right. It is swath. Next one. To propose as an explanation. H, bolster, pose it, mushrooming. What is this, my children? कल का class इतना heavy था that I've tried to make this class a little lighter today. After all the hangover of the budget, we'll keep it light today. This is pose it. This is pose it. Yes. The answer is no, not bolster. That's pose it. Okay. This isn't bolster. Bolster is to support. Okay. This is pose it. Hat-trick. Again today. The answer is pose it. All right. Now, it's okay if you got this wrong because we had tons of vocabulary yesterday. So much of it. So many new words. And now, as I have told you, I had got 2 articles yesterday and one article I could not do because the article on budget was so long. So I've repeated yesterday's article. Now, if I've repeated yesterday's article, yesterday's tiny bit of vocabulary would also be repeated. So we'll not spend a lot of time on that vocabulary that we had done yesterday. We'll quickly just revise that. Fair enough. So that we have a revision of what we did yesterday because it was massive. We'll revise some new words today and then some revision from yesterday's class because the article has been repeated today, which I did not discuss in my yesterday's class. So here we go with the first page of vocabulary. The first one, secular. Secular word जिस line में used है आज, it has my heart. आप सबको, you are going to have fun reading this article. So secular is something that does not ascribe to or connect with any specific religious or spiritual beliefs. It's neutral. That is secular. So we can say our country is a secular one. Yes? Correct? Bolster is to boost. Yes. Is to support something. Yes. Correct. So here we go. The answer for, the meaning of secular is neutral, not biased. Festival celebration is prohibited in secular buildings. One that do not go or ascribe to some religious or spiritual beliefs. That's secular one. Next one is credible. Credibility किसी चीज की होती है उसकी ऐसी ability जिस पे आप trust कर सको या आप उसको believe कर सको. So the believability or the fact that you can trust something is the credibility it has. So few people found this story credible. did not find the story believable or authentic or honest. That is the credibility of something. Okay? All right. No, this slide we did not do. The first two words we did not do. First two, three words. Okay? Then we've got solace is some comfort, some peace that you find in the times of discomfort, in the times of struggle. So solace could be, okay, you take mocks and sometimes you are distressed with this course. You go watch some episodes of Friends. That gives you solace. Okay, you go speak to your friends, speak to your mother. That gives you solace. So some pacifying or relief or respite. Respite is a synonym to solace. So she sought solace in her religion. Her religion gave her some respite. Okay? Credible is not unbelievable. That's believable. Exactly, Navya. It is. All right? Okay. Yes, here we go with the next one. Claustrophobic, we did that. I'll quickly do this now. You can jaldi jaldi karte 2 minutes mere bhai. Claustrophobic, no synonyms, antonyms needed because we've done that yesterday. Claustrophobic, the fear of being in confined spaces. ये हो गया claustrophobic. So crowds made him feel claustrophobic. उसको confined spaces में डर लगने लगा. Next, exacerbate. Exacerbate होता है किसी भी चीज को और severe करना और worse बना देना. So वो exacerbation होता है. The exorbitant cost of land in urban area only exacerbated the problem. उन्होंने urban areas की problem को और severe कर दिया. किस चीज ने किया? Cost of land ने, क्योंकि वो high थी. Slide number 1, जल्दी screenshot ले लो. I'll be moving fast here because we've done these words. Okay? Aggravate, exacerbate. Yes. Phobia for fear is the root word. Yes. All right. Next slide. Magnitude is the extent to which it can impact things. The magnitude of the earthquake कितना severe था, उसकी severity को आप, उसकी size को आप measure करते हो. कि magnitude of the impact on people of COVID कितना impact कर सकता है वो, उसका size कितना है. That's the magnitude. They may feel discouraged at the magnitude of the task before them. So that's the next word. We did not do this word yesterday. Okay? Yes, most of them are repeated, Khushi, because I have taken an article which I was supposed to take yesterday, but we're taking it today because the yesterday's article was long. Okay? I hope you understand why are they repeated today. All right. So next one, eponymous. बहुत डिटेल में समझाया था. किसी का नाम जब यूज किया जाता है किसी और चीज के साथ, that is eponymous. So Ramayana example दिया था मैंने आपको. Ramayana comes is eponymous to the hero Ram. Ram का नाम यूज किया जाता है Ramayana के लिए. And then there are so many things eponymous. So one name, nim, is the root word here. One name used to represent something else related to it is eponymous. Etch is to make a clear impression. A permanent mark is etching. Since etchnamite, it made a permanent mark. We could not forget that. That's etching. Yes? Etch is to lure. No. I don't think that is. Okay? Alright. Vastness for magnitude. Yes, it can be, Ragini. Ma'am, can cusp be the synonym to solace? No, it cannot be. Cusp होता है एक ऐसा point जहां जिसके बाद transition हो जाता है. वो point of transition is the cusp. ठीक है? Solace है थोड़ा मुझे relief मिला. ये होता है solace. Okay? I hope you get both the words. All right. Next word पे चलते हैं. Okay. Ensemble is बहुत सारी चीजें जो एक साथ देखी जाती है, अलग अलग नहीं देखी जाती. They seen together. So the building in the square present a charming provincial ensemble. They are seen together. Alias एक नेम जो किसी और नेम से भी जाना जाता है, जैसे एरिक ब्लेयर, एलियास जॉर्ज ऑवेल. So एरिक ब्लेयर को जॉर्ज ऑवेल के नाम से भी जाना जाता है. That's एलियास. Slide number 2. जल्दी से स्क्रीनशॉट ले लो. ठीक है? Metonymy is related to ensemble. Saki, yes, can be. Can be. Exactly. Correct. Yes. All right. Consolidate for AKA for alias. Yes. Let's move to the next one. Last slide number 3. Dystopian, a world full of hardship and suffering is dystopian. Opposite of utopian. A dystopian future for a society bereft of reason. Bereft मतलब devoid of. जहां reason नहीं है, वो society dystopian society बन जाती है. Towering, very tall compared to its surrounding. Height में ज्यादा बाकी लोगों से is towering. So towering buildings बहुत tall बाकी चीजों से. ठीक है? Impactful. तनु किनोनिकल बच्चा होता है जो एक डिग्री होता है, एक रूल आ जाता है अथॉरिटी से जो यूजुअली लोग अपोज नहीं करते. दैट्स किनोनिकल. ओके. एच फॉर टैबू. टैबू इज एच शेफी. आप रिलेट कर सकते हो. ओके. ऑल राइट. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट वन. कैनोनिकल मैंने समझा आपको. दैट इज यूजुअली एक जनरल रूल, एक डिक्री जिसको लोग इजीली एक्सेप्ट कर लेते हैं. इट्स a canonical one. His proposals were generally accepted as canonical. People did not revolt against it, did not oppose it. उस रूल को, उस डिक्री को लोग उन्हें इजीली मान लिया. ये canonical हुआ. आया समझ में? canonical. तनु? ओके. यस. जगरनॉट फॉर डिस्टोपियन रिलेटेड है, एग्जैक्ट सिनोनिम तो नहीं. फिएट बोल सकते हो canonical के लिए. यस. ओके. Conformity हो सकता है. Yes, Vatsala, it can be. It can be. All right. And the last one, pertinent. Okay, so pertinent is anything that is related to what is being discussed. That's pertinent. That's important. The impression of the jury with his conscience. Pertinent answers to the attorney's questions. Related answers. Not weird, not absurd, but related ones to something that is being talked about is pertinent. Slide number 3. Take a screenshot, everyone, super quickly. Epitome for canonical? No, my child, no. But good that you're thinking hard. Yes. Pondered for pertinent? No. आज क्या हो गया? आज इतने random words कैसे आ रहे हैं? Okay. All right. Got that, everyone? Now can we move to the articles quickly? So here we go. A dose of realism. किस स्कूल नहीं खुले अभी तक? How many of you are waiting? Your schools haven't opened yet. Epitome. Highest degree of something is the epitome. Okay. How many of you are still waiting for your schools to reopen? Okay. All right. But most of the schools have reopened. The guidelines have come that the school should be reopened soon. But WHO says this is wrong. You're being complacent. Yes. So ultimately, they say no masking, it's not necessary, vaccination is done, you can be lenient, the travel restrictions could be lifted. All of this, WHO is not happy with that. And there's a reason why is WHO not happy with that. With the first wave, WHO did not predict its severity and it received a lot of flack for that because it could not predict the severity and then the situation got so bad immediately before the second wave as well. Thus, WHO right now is very, very careful and it wants people to still abide by the rules and regulations and not open everything absurdly. That is why this article comes into the scene. Now let's understand. Aruna, I hope you're going to understand everything here. Okay, so let us understand everything here. Canonical is not generic view, Sheffy. No, it isn't. Okay, so here we go. The WHO chief, Dr. Tedros, in a recent briefing noted that 90 million cases of COVID have been reported since the Omicron variant was first identified 10 weeks ago. So imagine within 10 weeks, 90 million cases, 90 million have been reported. These are the reported numbers. We don't know what's going to happen. My mom had been suffering for fever. We isolated her. We did not get her tested. And then there are going to be so many other things that are going to be happening around. His statement comes in the context of many countries easing their restrictive movement measure and public fatigue. Public fatigue हो गया तो easy तो करना जरूरी है. Shops needs to be opened up. Weddings, देखो हम ना बहुत क्रिटिसिज्म देते हैं, गवर्नमेंट ने वेडिंग्स में एन नंबर ऑफ पीपल अलाउ कर दिए, क्यों अलाउ कर दिए? बच्चे, यू वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड कि इसका एक इकोनॉमिकल इम्पैक्ट भी है, राइट? बिकॉज देयर आर पीपल हु अर्न थ्रू वेडिंग्स एज वेल, there's a whole economy dependent on that, so you can't close things for lifelong, like schools as well. There's an economy based on schools as well, and your education is impacted here, so things need to be open. But WHO says no, 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 don't be so complacent here. From WHO's perspective, the blanket lifting of restrictions poses a problem, as most people appear to believe that Omicron is less threatening compared to previous variants. So WHO से ज़्यादा worry ये इसीलिए है because people say Omicron is not as severe as Delta is, which is true to some extent. The severity is not as bad, but it may turn out to be one of that sort. So we can't be careless here. And that the 2 shots of vaccine are adequate defense against the virus. You will see so many people around you who are vaccinated twice, who had also got the booster doses, the frontline workers getting infected with the virus. So these 2 shots are not actually a barricade to you from catching COVID. So that's what WHO says here. He underlined that a narrative that preventing transmission is no longer possible and no longer necessary. प्रिवेंशन ऑफ ट्रांसमिशन हो भी नहीं सकता और प्रिवेंशन को रोकने की जरूरत भी नहीं है। ये जो बिलीफ है ना लोगों का, यही है जो प्रॉब्लमैटिक है कि अब ट्रांसमिशन नहीं हो सकता, आप सब खोल देते हैं। दैट इज एग्जैक्टली व्हाट इज प्रॉब्लमैटिक अकॉर्डिंग टू द WHO. But ma'am, if this corona is going to stay lifelong, how long they're going to stop our school and education? You have a point, Saki, they cannot. But blanket lifting, completely opening everything, one shot, we can't be careless. Things need to be taken step by step. ठीक है? So पूरे country में एक साथ सारे schools खोल दो, that cannot happen. District by district evaluation is necessary. That's exactly what the WHO says. Okay? Yes. All right. Now here is the next page. This idea that precaution is not necessary is a false one. He underscored at the briefing. He supported this, that this idea is false as the virus continues to evolve and 4 of the 6 WHO regions globally are reporting an increase in deaths. And if 4 out of 6 regions are reporting increment in deaths, then possibly this variant isn't as simple as we had thought it to be. Britain, France, Ireland, the Netherlands, and Finland are on the path of easing COVID restrictions, including India. In India too, with the current evidence pointing to a fall in the daily caseload. हमारे सिटी में, सबके सिटी में आपको सबको समझ में आ रहा है कि डेली जो केसेस हैं वो पीक के बाद अब डाउनफॉल होने लग गया है. सो जब हम ग्राफ बनाते हैं, it went here and then we've seen this decline. Several states have moved to ease movement restrictions. Yes, पहले RT-PCR चाहिए, अब वो भी नहीं चाहिए होता कुछ स्टेट्स में. पहले फ्लाइट्स बैन कर दी थी, अब वो भी नहीं हो रही है. They have opened it up. WHO has also said that newly emerged variant BA2 is as transmissible as Omicron. तो अगर सब कुछ खोल दिया तो जिस तरीके से Omicron ने थर्ड वेव बनाई थी, BA2 God forbid खुद बना सकता है. And that all measures need to contain the original Omicron variant as applicable to it too. और अभी तक Omicron खत्म नहीं हुआ है और BA2 variant आ गया न्यूज में, which is as highly transmissible as Omicron is. And we can't be lax here with our rules and regulations. And WHO, who lost its authority when it was not able to do anything during the first and the second wave of corona, and that's exactly, Arnab, why WHO right now is very, very careful, because we cannot put the lives at risk of so many people. Yes? Correct. So, yes. No, that's not in your quote. No, that isn't. That isn't. Okay? After facing criticism that it did not move soon enough in 2020, awaited, or 2020 to alert the world of the magnitude to the calamity that it awaited. WHO obviously was criticized in 2020 that it did not move soon enough. It did not act soon enough, and then people suffered. So उस criticism को रोकने के लिए, and then there was a global crisis after that. So now it cannot take risk at all. It has also consistently warned that the pandemic cannot be over until all red regions of the world are sufficiently vaccinated. साउथ अफ्रीका आपको पता है poorly vaccinated. जब तक पूरे वर्ल्ड में appropriate vaccination नहीं हो जाती, according to WHO, you cannot lift these restrictions right away. we need to be more careful. क्योंकि वो countries जो poor हैं, जो vaccination afford नहीं कर सकते, उनको at पार लाना जरूरी है. Now read this line everyone very carefully. It has also consistently warned that pandemic cannot be over until all regions of the world are sufficiently vaccinated, and that the economic inequity continues to be a driver of the pandemic. How does the economic inequity continues to be a driver of the pandemic? You tell me that. You tell me that. How does the economic inequity continues to be a driver of the pandemic? मेरा economic status, आपका economic status. What does our economic status have to do with we suffering from the pandemic? Who's going to answer this? Inference question. Think about that. That's how you work on lines that ask you to infer things. Let me see who can get it first. Ali, that's normal, but we need to read that because last year COVID was supremely important from the perspective of our paper. It can be important again. Let's see who gets it. How does economic inequity can be a driver of the pandemic? Yeah? No? Inflation का क्या लेना देना माइता pandemic से? Vaccine availability is one. Shilpi, you're right. Poor nations cannot afford vaccines. Yes, that's right as well. Poor people become poorer due to the pandemic. Yes, that's the whole point. And to earn money, they have to go outside and then they can be mass spreaders. Exactly. So there are two things. A poor country cannot afford vaccination. Two, if somebody is rich enough, अगर पैंडेमिक होता है और वो पूरी इकोनॉमी को डिस्टर्ब कर देता है तो उसका जो उसके पास जो रिसोर्सेज हैं वो उसको सपोर्ट कर सकते हैं. बट जो लोग पुअर हैं उनको सपोर्ट करने के लिए दे हैव नो मनी लेफ्ट. पुअर बिकम्स पुअरर. यस, दैट इज द होल आइडिया दैट इज बीइंग डिस्कस्ड हियर. यस, so both the points. Now let's see. The coronavirus, while secular in its infectiousness, what does it mean? Coronavirus, while secular in its infectiousness, इसका मतलब क्या है? ये कौन बताएगा? Who's going to tell me this? Coronavirus, while secular in its infectiousness. Now, what does it mean? It means coronavirus secular है. वो तुम्हारा religion नहीं देखेगा, तुम्हारा country नहीं देखेगा, तुमको impact affect करने से पहले. सबसे secular आज तक हमने कोई चीज देखी तो वो diseases हैं, more than anything else, right? So coronavirus, while secular in its infectiousness, affects nations differently. तो ये रिलीजन बायस नहीं है, ये सबको इम्पैक्ट करेगा, लेकिन हर नेशन को अलग तरीके से इम्पैक्ट करता है ये. यस, रिच और पुअर, हिंदू, मुस्लिम, क्रिश्चियन, सिख, व्हाटएवर you are, you can fall prey to it. But if you're rich, you might actually be able to not affect yourself so badly. Your access to hospitals is going to be easy. You'll have ample of money to safeguard yourself. The richer ones can afford to bear the consequence of disrupted social activity a little longer than the rest of the people. हमने first wave में ये देखा. All the migrant workers, they were walking down the roads, going back to their homes. The richer ones, comparatively, were a little safer. Just about half the world has been fully vaccinated. Unfortunately, so far the available vaccines are only equipped to protect against disease rather than infection. So, infection अभी भी spread हो सकता है और only half of the world is vaccinated. It's a severe problem today. WHO must use its influence to continue to encourage vaccination. Some vaccination लगवाओ. You know what? So yesterday my sister got vaccinated and the guy who came in, not vaccinated, she got tested for COVID. And the guy who came in to test her, I asked him कि भैया booster dose लग गई? He said booster, एक भी dose नहीं लगवाई है और मैंने नकली certificate बनवाया. I said why did you do that? He said ना तो सबको ये वैक्सीनेशन क्यों लगवाऊं? Front line workers not getting vaccinated. Imagine he could be a mass spreader to my home and many more homes he goes to. That is why You, my child, if are not getting vaccinated, you're putting not only your life at risk, but so many people around you as well. Yes. So thus, for framing the pandemic as a war that humanity must win was useful to accelerate the development of vaccine. We wanted to win it, and that's when vaccination was developed. However, science is not equipped yet to predict the future trajectory of the COVID. आगे कितने वेरिएंट आएंगे, कितने केसेस होंगे, साइंस ये नहीं बता सकता हमको. ये फ्यूचर ट्रैजेक्टरी नहीं बता सकता क्या ग्राफ बनेगा. COVID appropriate behavior, vaccines and accessible healthcare remains the only credible defense. So क्योंकि हम future cases नहीं predict कर सकते, what can we do right now? We can ensure COVID appropriate behavior, masking, distancing, vaccination and healthcare system at par with the demand of the country. That is all that we can do. Yes? Ali? No, I was just asking him. I had no choice, Ritik. So, tone of the author, everyone. What's a tone? Oh, yes, Alia, that's the whole point. What's the tone here, everyone? Next article is more like a reading comprehension. We're going to read that. I'm sure most of you haven't read that article. What's the tone? Analytical, okay. Alarming, okay. Concerning. More than alarming, it's concerning. Yes, it's concerning. No, more than alarming नहीं है, वो concerning है कि देखो अभी भी हमें कोविड प्रोटोकॉल appropriate behavior फॉलो करना जरूरी है. It's concerning. Cool? Yes. Sarcastic नहीं है. No, Ragini, it isn't sarcastic. Sarcastic means you actually make fun. The only line that looks like sarcasm is secular in its infectiousness. Okay? Shobit, I can't do that, my child. Okay, let's move to the next article. Now, since most of you, I believe, haven't read this article, we're going to take it slow, but something of this sort can easily be made into a reading comprehension. I would have picked up something of this sort to make a passage. So give me a second, let me have a sip of water, and then by the time you could quickly go through it. Okay. Here we go. Cool. Okay. So censorship and its impact on reading. What happened? Delhi University announced last August that it was dropping Mahashweta Devi's story Draupadi from the undergraduate English syllabus. Reason क्या दिया उन्होंने? And reason बताऊंगी मैं, but जैसे ही Delhi University decided to drop this short story from the syllabus, the story became popular. People started spreading this story online because it made news. Okay? Set around the Naxalite movement, Draupadi is a retelling of the powerful eponymous character from the Mahabharata. Eponymous आया समझ में कैसे used है? So महाभारता में जो character था द्रौपदी, उसी की story की retelling है, linking it to something else, some other situation, and the name obviously is eponymous to Draupadi. Mahashweta Devi's Draupadi, or Draupadi as she is called, is a rebel who is cornered by the police trying to put down forces she represents. I'm sure you know about Mahabharata and Draupadi in that, and that she was a rebel and she was cornered by the Kauravas and she was the Pandavas' wife. So thus, here the Kauravas are being portrayed as the policemen, Draupadi as one of the characters here. And some of the reasons given for the story being dropped were that it was explicit, mentioned rape, showed the armed forces in poor light. So they said, no, we can't be teaching this. We're going to remove this. And then the story made news and everybody started reading that online. People started sharing it online. That was one instance of censorship that impacted its reading. It increased. Okay? In US, school boards of various states have voted to keep out notable works of literature, including John Steinbeck, So बहुत सारे लोगों ने बहुत सारे वर्क्स को बाहर रखा है, पॉपुलर वर्क्स को बाहर रखा है. एग्जाम्पल जॉन स्टीनबैक की बुक ऑफ माइस एंड मैन, हार्पर ली की टू किल अ मॉकिंग बर्ड. Have you read this book, my children? Because if you haven't, you certainly should. To Kill a Mockingbird. It's the story of a lawyer who fights with what? Apartheid? Yes. This is from the text and context of the Hindu. Okay? Alright. So then To Kill a Mockingbird was kept out. Toni Morrison's Beloved was kept out. And most recently, Art Spiegelman's Pulitzer Prize winning graphic novel Mouse on the Holocaust was kept out. ठीक है. So Pulitzer Prize winning book और उसको भी आप अगर education से बाहर रख रहे हो, what are the reasons? Often a ban is likely to put a book in the hands of more readers. So the idea is to avoid people reading that, and that's why you put a ban on that. On the contrary, कोई भी चीज ban हो जाती है ना, क्यों ban हुई? People are inquisitive. Let me read that and let me see why is it banned. I'll figure it out. It encourages the reader to read it even more. It has the opposite effect here. This can be made into a critical reasoning line. Can you see the paradox here? The ban is supposed to curb the reading of people. On the contrary, it increases the reading. This is the paradox that you see here. Did you understand the paradox, everyone? Yes. Day before viral, day before paper. Okay, so that's the paradox here. As soon as Tennessee School Board announced that it was dropping mosques on Holocaust, just before the International Holocaust Remembrance Day on 27, immediately उसके पहले हमने discuss किया था Holocaust Remembrance Day to remember. Immediately before this, they had dropped the book. Sales began to soar on Amazon, even as bookstores in US handed out free copies. Free copies जा रही थी तो भी उसकी sale इतनी increase हो गई Amazon पे. You see the contradictory effect. The book tells the story of Spiegelman's ties with his father, who survived a concentration camp and moved to New York. Good story. Why was it banned? Jews are presented as mice, that is mouse, and the Germans as cats. Looks like a similar storytelling style of George Orwell. Vladek and Art have an uneasy relationship, but soon his father narrates to him how the news began to tighten for Jews in Poland. News technically is the Asikafanda. Okay, but here it's a contextual meaning. News begin to tighten on the Jews means Jews के लिए life difficult होती चली गई. In Poland, and the inevitable journey to a concentration camp. He had to go to a concentration camp, and that's how the son and the father's relationship improved. Vladek ends up in Auschwitz and shows his son the number that was etched on his hand. This is the number of the Jews. They were numbered while they were sent to the concentration camps. This was his number. The school board was apparently upset with the use of curse words and some nude imagery, and the US Holocaust Memorial Museum criticized the ban. They said, okay, only because there are some nude imagery and curse words, you can't be completely banning the book. The Holocaust Memorial Museum was not happy with that, pointing out that mosque plays a critical role in teaching students about the Holocaust when millions of Jews were killed. So only because of these things, banning it completely because you are uncomfortable explaining that or omitting it is the wrong thing. So everybody criticized this ban. Got it? Exactly. Yes. So then what happened? You should, Shreya, you should. So one of the famous books to have been banned is of course James Joyce. Okay, so there now comes. बहुत सारी books ban हुई है, but बहुत सारी ऐसी famous books भी ban हुई है. मैं एक नाम आपको बताती हूँ, आपने जरूर सबने सुना होगा. Right here, The Satanic Verses by Salman Rushdie. आपको पता है सलमान रुश्दी के अगेंस्ट एक फतवा भी जारी हुआ था कि सलमान रुश्दी ने बुक लिख दी है, which is वो किसी ना किसी तरीके से जिन को एंड इस्लाम के लिए ब्लास्फेमस है और वो ईविल को वहां बहुत फैंटेसाइज कर रहा है इस बुक को. इंडिया में ये बुक बैन नहीं हुई, बट इनके अगेंस्ट सलमान रुश्दी के अगेंस्ट एक फतवा जारी कर दिया गया. I had the copy of the book as well, though I have never read it, but I had the copy of that book as well. और यही होता है जब एक बुक बैन होती है तो. So to mark 100 years of its publication, Shakespeare and Company has created an ensemble according recording of the next text read by the writers, including Margaret Atwood, हमने बहुत बार डिस्कस किया Atwood को, Ben Okri and Janet Winterson and other artists, musicians, comedians, not important. ठीक है? So अब आते हैं हम सलमान रुश्दी बुक. इंडिया ने भी कुछ टाइम के लिए उसको बैन किया, बहुत सारी और कंट्रीज ने बैन किया, और ईरान के स्पिरिचुअल लीडर ने उनके अगेंस्ट एक फतवा इशू कर दिया इन 1989 फॉर द बुक, considering it to be blasphemous for Islam. He was provided police protection in the UK where he lived then, and he chose a different name, Joseph Anton, for obvious reasons, because Salman Rushdie naam se to he would have been found by other people who found his book blasphemous, and he would have been maybe lynched. He lived with another name. Later, he used this name to write his memoir, the title of his memoir, and went into hiding before emerging years later to live in the US. George Orwell's dystopian novel 1984 was also banned in Russia till 1990. जो बुक मैं आपको सजेस्ट करती हूँ कि जरूर पढ़ो, वो बुक जो कितने सारे करिकुलम्स का पार्ट है, 1990 तक वो रशिया में बैन थी for obvious reasons. I'm sure एनिमल फार्म भी उन्होंने नहीं पढ़ी होगी for obvious reasons अगर आपने ये बुक पढ़ी है तो. So Deborah, director of the American Library Association's Office for Intellectual Freedom, told the New York Times that aggressively policing books for inappropriate content and banning titles could limit students' exposure to great literature. बुक बहुत अच्छी है, 2 instances है जो आपके अकॉर्डिंग inappropriate है, आपने उसको बैन कर दिया. This will restrict your access to excellent literature, including 1984 and including towering canonical works, उनको भी बैन कर रहे हैं लोग. Among the most frequent targets are books about race, gender, sexuality, four topics where we need to talk about race, gender, sexuality. And when you talk about these things, there may be some graphical content as well. NYT reported this. Writer Laurie Hass, whose young adult books have frequently been challenged, said pulling titles that deal with difficult subjects can make it harder for students to discuss issues like racism and sexual assault. So, if you don't have these things discussed in the book, and that's exactly why To Kill a Mockingbird, because it talked about racism and apartheid, it was banned. How would we talk about that if we don't read about that? By attacking these books, by attacking the authors, by attacking the subject matter, what they are doing is removing the possibility of conversation that you and I can have. In his 2021 book, Dangerous Ideas, Eric chronicles a cultural history of censorship and thought suppression through the ages. Russia ने क्यों 1984 को बैन किया होगा? Because they did not want people to talk about what was mentioned in the book. Yes, their dominance in the country. Yes, that raises a pertinent question. Will the compulsion to silence the other ever be resolved? कि हम हमारे कंट्री में भी देखते हैं compulsion to silence. बोला तुमने hate speech हो गया ये, कुछ बोला तुमने sedition charge कर देंगे, कुछ बोला तुमने UAPA लगा देंगे. So will the compulsion to silence the other ever be resolved? What's the tone of the author, my children here? Be very careful with the tone. Be very careful. That's exactly, Sakhi, that's exactly the problem. They would be exposed to these things in a negative way. That should not be done. Only because you are uncomfortable discussing something of that sort in the class, it should be banned. No, it shouldn't. What's the tone here? Be very careful. Okay, critical. All right. Narrative. Okay. Is it not explanatory by giving so many examples? Think about it. By giving so many examples of so many writers जिनकी books को censor कर दिया गया था. Is it not expository? Devjot, yes. Yes, my child. Yes, that's exactly what this article is. Is it not expository? Descriptive or expository, right? और उसी के साथ explanation है कि ये ban करना impact क्या डालता है. Ban कर तो दिया, but उसका impact क्या होगा? Okay? Now that's the idea here. Okay. Now I'm going to share today's Hindu and Indian Express. But before I do that, a couple of things that I would like to tell you. Today at 12:30, I'll be taking a class on the BBA platform on common mistakes people do while solving any critical reasoning question. Okay. The second, at 8 p.m. Today is my third and the last class on assumptions and conclusions. If you haven't seen my previous two classes, go back, find my video on assumptions and conclusions, which I had taken yesterday and day before. Watch them and then come to today's class. We'll be discussing many questions today on assumptions and conclusions. So that is the agenda for today that I'm going to take. Now let me show you the Hindu and the Indian Express that has come today, and let's see what's important that we need to read class today. Okay. Just a minute, guys. 1 minute. One second, guys. Sorry. Here it is. No, Anushka, the point is not criticizing the ban. The point is that this banning can have a different impact. And he explains that. Okay? Okay, here we go. Let us get the newspaper today. Let's see. It is today. Winter is here and the games in China. Read this, my children, please do. A disjointed response about the crypto trade. Yes, read this. A border move that will only bolster China's scheme. Curious case of Meghalaya's COVID-19 package. Yes, please read this. Okay. Because if you are done with the budget, so please don't overburden you by reading this. If you still can read it, isko skim kar lena. Yes, read this. News media in Hong Kong. Yes, important. Let me show you the Indian Express today. Eight p.m. Mohit, 8 p.m. Today's class on assumptions. Okay. Here we go about the Indian Express. The budget has ignored distress caused by the pandemic. Yes. The vision in budget 22. Yes. Fiscal management during a pandemic. Yes. Mayawati breaks the long silence. No. Okay. Digital rupee. RBI must proceed cautiously. दोनों पेपर में से एक आर्टिकल पढ़ लेना on digital. Of course, there needs to be an article on that. Only one. Peddling of anti-scientific beliefs by academia must worry us. ये बिल्कुल पढ़ना है आपको. Budget indicates growth. We'll have to public sector driven scheme. The concept of life members. I was not trying to buy a watch. The concept of life members in Indian institution. ये सबको पढ़ना है. ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. कल क्लास नहीं होगी, ये प्लीज पढ़ लेना everyone. The concept of life members in Indian institutions would have made both the ancients and Karl Marx angry. Masking up is the responsibility of a community, not just an individual. Yes. But that's all from the Indian Express. Do you have any questions, anyone? Actually, text and context of the Hindu. Yes, I forgot that. Let's look at the text and context. Sorry, I forgot that. Here is the text. The need to boost labor income and consumption. Scheme. और context में I'm going to share this right away. ठीक है? बहुत important है. You're going to love reading this. Increasingly dystopian world through a prescient Italian film that won the Oscars in 1971. Lovely. Read this. I'm going to share it in the Telegram channel. Anyone who wishes to get into the Telegram channel, in the description box is our link. Okay? I'm going to share it right away. Bye everyone. What's your question, Ali? Ali, I can't see your question. Okay, bye everyone. Have a very good day. I'll see you at 12:30. Okay?